We're into double figures. No one predicted this when we were just bored in Australia recording a podcast. Episode 10, View from the Hazards. Ben's here. Feeling amazing. Got his routine sorted. I'm jealous of him because he can actually wake up before 9 and sort of go to bed before 12. I don't know how he's doing it, but you're doing it, aren't you?
Discipline, mate. Discipline.
Yeah, well, clearly it's gone out the window in lockdown.
Exactly. People are going nuts. One of my mates the other day let his wife cut his hair. She's basically just shaved. She's just given him a wedge and I saw a photo of it. I'm like, what are you doing?
The Ronaldo 02.
Why are people going? Not quite as bad as that. She stopped short of getting around to the top. I'm just like, just let it flow, man. I might have to get into caps. I mean, to be fair, this is good for me. I actually look like I've got hair for a change. It's fantastic.
No, you've shaved it off. Oh, no, it's locked down, mate.
Long may this continue.
Quite a funny one from this week, actually. So one of my mates from uni, this shows how bored people have got. He was like, I've started listening to your podcast. And I was like, oh, right. And this guy doesn't really know much about real tennis. Anyway, he just has it on in the background when he's working. And he said, I'm really enjoying them. I was like, oh, thanks, mate. He's like, yeah, I just enjoy how Ben's clearly a massive nerd and you just sort of cut him down a little bit. You rein him in. And I was like, okay, do I? But
is this guy listening to the same podcast?
Yeah, that's what I thought. He basically just liked the interplay. He didn't actually know anything about what was going on. He just liked the noise.
Well, I mean, obviously, we can just chew the fat with each other and have a bit of a laugh, so that's good. And it flows quite nicely, which is also good. I wouldn't say I'm a nerd. I'd say knowledgeable.
Good, yeah, good. I like that, Ben.
I sounded so much like David Brent there.
Yeah, you did. You actually did. I was like, hang on, that doesn't sound like you. Who's that sound like?
Knowledge.
I'm knowledgeable. Which is cool.
Passionate.
Passionate. There we go. All the words. That's cool, actually. Yeah. Yeah, nerd's not cool. But
nerd is not cool. Thanks, man.
We have. Well, yeah, we have another.
I'm a real tennis dweeb. Great.
You just know it. Just got to embrace it. Maybe it'll come to you one day.
Claim to fame.
Right, so we've got another topic for this week, which was actually suggested on Twitter by Leg Spinner 82. Is that right?
Leg Spinner something.
Leg Spinner 82. I don't know who that is. So if you have a name,
it is Leg Spinner 82. Yeah. Well done.
If you have a name in real life, you can let us know. We might be able to say hi to you in person, because that person's favoured a few of my tweets in the past. I actually have no idea who they are. But anyway, it was suggested. What rules would you change, or what aspects of the game would you change? I think that's quite a nice topic.
Yeah, that is quite interesting, actually. There's always been a few things that are I mean, that for me, there's that's a twofold question for me. So I was thinking to myself, if there's a couple of rules you could change, I then kind of naturally gravitate to areas of the court that you might change. So if I was building a court and I could not change, but if you're looking for the modern day court and you're thinking what would I make sure was the case on certain courts to make it much more user friendly for people?
Yeah.
Introducing into the game, much better for streaming and stuff like that. So I think we could have a bit of fun with this one.
I think actually on the courts it'd be really cool if there was almost like a colour system on the colour. I don't know if it'd be annoying when, let's say, you're playing, but if there was a colour system assigned to each chase, it'd be a bit easier to sort of, for beginners to see the chases. Let's say if chase 5 was blue and whatever.
Well, so do you know what's actually really, really interesting is everybody loves to criticise the stripes at Preston Hall, right?
Yeah.
Everybody loves to criticise it for some reason. I don't really care. It's still the same sport. It's still the same rules. I think that whilst it isn't necessarily the most aesthetically pleasing system in the world, it works fantastically because, in theory, you shouldn't really ever be able to get your chase wrong.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Because everything blue is better than, and everything green is worse than. So when you've got donuts that are looking down, you get it all the time. They're like, 4, and they always give it an exact number. You're like, yeah, I'm sure the ball landed exactly on that 1 inch spot, as opposed to the half a yard gap in between the two spots.
Mate, they're just looking to try and beat the chase.
But I mean, but it's a good system.
Yeah,
It's a good system. Like, it lands on blue, and you just go, right, I can see that. So I don't need to see that it landed on this specific spot. But I can see it's landed on blue, therefore it's better than, and I look to the next nearest line, all right, it's better than 3. It's so much easier to get things right.
I agree. It'd be cool if, I think, for beginners especially, marking chases is a nightmare because they just look at the numbers and they're like, shit, what do the numbers mean? Whereas if they were assigned to something a bit more like tangible, like colours, I think it would be easier. But obviously, a rainbow court would just be, I don't know.
Well, that's why I think you can't throw too many colours in, which is why
Yeah,
Preston have got it right. And the
I
two
agree.
different colours are,
So
they don't clash.
they're
They're not
similar
too
enough.
bright.
They're similar enough.
Yeah, they're similar enough. I wonder, I've actually just thought of this on the spot, and it could be the worst thing I've ever suggested, but again, you could effectively have, like, right over where the floor meets the walls, you could effectively have written on the floor, like in fairly small letters or whatever, you could have what each chase is called. So you could just have, like, B3, W4.
What, even smaller letters?
I mean, yeah, it would be small, and it would be on the floor, and it probably wouldn't be too garish. Obviously, as you get better and you're digging stuff, like tight stuff, there might be quite a lot going on. I don't know. I've just thought about that on the spot. But it shouldn't be too difficult if your pro has explained the rules well enough to you. You can only be better or worse than a round number, can't you? So
I agree. And yeah, let's say better than 5. I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's worse than or 5. I mean, it's still a shot, isn't it? You're
do
still
you know
going to try and beat it.
what really my biggest bugbear with, because you've mentioned colours, and I think you're absolutely right, and that's where I think Preston get it so right, and everybody loves to hate it, but it's a fantastic system and it works. It's just different, and all the traditionalists are like, oh no, it's something different, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But on the subject of colour, my biggest bugbear, which goes on to, like, what would I do if I had a blank canvas, is when you go to courts, and a lot of them have them, and Leamington was the same until we got our lines done a couple of years ago, and it was one of the things, basically they said, like, you sort it out, so I basically insisted the second gallery line, the service line, and the service box, right? All 3 of those lines are relevant for serving, and the amount of courts that you go to where they're all different colours is just so stupid in my eyes.
Yeah, that's actually true. I never thought about the last gallery line as being relevant for serving, but it is though, isn't it?
No, sorry, the second gallery line, as in physically the rules of serving. The last gallery line being a different colour is a good idea because it's a very good. I can't think of the word. Sorry, like, it's a very good, like, point of reference on the court. So when you're stood back at, like, 3 and stuff, it's the same thing when you're at the hazard end. So the reason people find it tough at Paris is because the stroke area is so small. So they stand with the timbre on their left, and they automatically gravitate to a certain position where the timbre is in a familiar position relative to where they're stood. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they go to get their racket back and they hit the back wall. And they're like, oh my God, I'm right up against the back wall. And that's because the gap from the timbre to the back wall is shorter than other courts. So you automatically position yourself relative to a reference point, which is why it's good that last gallery lines are a different colour, because it helps you understand where you are on the court.
At Paris, is it literally just a hazard every single time? Off the back wall?
There's quite a lot of hazards there.
Fair.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of hazards there. I mean, when we did the lines at Leamington, the team that came in to do it forgot to paint the last gallery a different colour. So for about 2 weeks, it was the same colour as all the other chase lines. And then, honestly, it was amazing. People couldn't figure out what was going on. And even when I was, like, marking a club event, it's tough because you don't have that different colour as a reference.
Yeah.
The last gallery is good. But I remember working at Hatfield, and it was like, right, you've got a beginner on court. There's enough going on already, right? Lines all over the place, penthouses, timbres, grills, dead-ons, all this kind of jazz. A net that's not even straight for a start.
Nice work, pro.
And you basically be, like, turning around to the guys and saying, right, for serving, you need to stand behind this white line. You need to hit the ball up onto the roof beyond the yellow line, and then it needs to land in that blue box.
Yeah, it's true. That's not bad.
Just make it all one colour.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
So
a serving colour.
That's what I insisted on with Leamington. So now all the service lines are red.
Yeah, they are.
So I'm just like, right, you're looking for 3 red lines. The line on the floor at this end, you've got to stand behind it. got to hit the ball on the roof beyond the red line up there, and it's got to land in the red box. They're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I feel like we can do better than this with regard to changing a court. Or
All right,
changing
well, I've
the
got another
rules.
one for teaching purposes as well. Obviously, I'm coming
Talk
at
to
it
me.
from a different angle than you probably, because I'm looking at it from a teaching perspective.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of like funky ideas which would be a laugh as well. But another thing from teaching perspective, they've already got it down at Canford, Chase 8.
Chase 8, yeah. Rather than is that rather than a yard worse or rather than last?
Yep, technically it is 8 yards away from the back wall, so it works. And also, when you're trying to explain this better and worse than system to people, not only do we not have stripes, which would help, you've also got to turn around, and when you're explaining the better and worse than situation, just when they finally kind of get it, you then put them up near last gallery, and you're like, right, what's this called? And you're like, well, this is called a yard worse than the last gallery. This is called more than a yard worse than last gallery, and this is called nearly a yard worse than last gallery. How ridiculous is that?
I actually think more than a yard worse is my favourite chase. It's so good. I just love saying it.
But it sounds so vague, don't you think?
Yeah, nearly a yard worse. It's actually
nearly a yard worse than the last gallery. And I'll tell you what, Preston, nearly a yard worse, easy, thin green, more than a yard worse, big fat blue. Big fat green. My bad. Thin blue is nearly a yard worse. Big fat green is more than a yard worse. Again, it's just a stripe.
It's better than the second, actually, a massive area. Am I thinking right?
Yeah, because once you get to beyond a yard worse than last, everything just goes in yards.
Yeah.
And some courts, like Hampton Court, don't even have the yard line. So you've got better than the door and worse than second, and they occupy a massive area, and there's no line to cut them off. Yeah, so they just merge into one another, and it's obviously less important at that end of the court. But get rid of the yard worse than last and all that rubbish.
I agree. It's a bit a weird chase because everything else is so clear, and then it's like, oh my god! Like if you actually don't know what you're doing, like I doubt my sister can mark yard worse than last. I just don't think she can.
Well, from a teaching perspective, again, it makes everything look a bit more like black and white. It's a bit more not serious because it doesn't sound like a joke anyway, but it's just a bit more definitive.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like the French system where they mark in feet. There's no such thing as worse than 4.
Is there a chase 12? Is there a chase 12?
Yeah, there's basically 1 to 14, and then it becomes
last
quite
gallery. Cool.
So each chase is 1 foot long. So imagine the Prested system, but instead of everything being related to chase 1 and chase 2, imagine you just start at the back, right?
Yeah.
The first stripe is 1, the second stripe is 2, the third stripe is 3, etc.
That is logical, yeah. There's none of the worst and better than is just like when you're trying to explain it to people, it's like, what? And I'm just like, mate, don't worry about it.
Yeah, so the French mark in feet, and that's why that works.
Yeah, like it'd be so much clearer actually, just to be like, yeah, that's 2, that's 3, that's 6.
Yeah, landed in this spot, it's 3.
What does this mean? Didn't it align? Like, oh no. It's a major factor. It's a major factor.
The amount of times, I kind of wander through to watch my members play or whatever, and they'll turn around. They spend probably 20 minutes of the hour thinking about the score and like looking at the floor and going, like, oh, that's better than. No, it's not better. It's worse.
Just give it as 4, mate.
Like, you can see them trying to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not a criticism of them. It just takes them ages.
You can, yeah. I know. I remember seeing something when I was at Prested, which was like, want to find a way to get an extra 5 minutes of court time, like remember the score or something. It was like, fucking hell. Nice one, Rob.
But you know what I mean? It's absolutely true. Like, at any level, right? When we're doing drills and if we're playing like practice sets or if we're doing drills for points or something like that,
yeah.
you call the score out after every rally, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Of course you do. Because if you don't, you run the risk of losing it.
Forgetting.
So like, the amount of times you see people play like 3 points and then they're like, what's the score? And you're like, you should have changed ends like 2 rallies ago. But you obviously don't want to interfere, so you're just like, what game are these guys playing?
Yeah. Right, okay.
All right, anyway, that's me having a bit of a rant about like serious teaching points. But in terms of what should we do? Should we do rule change or court change?
I want to go with the taking a fault rule. I think that's one. Yeah. I want that to be mine. Because I know you were thinking about it, but I mentioned it first before we got on here.
I've been thinking about it for a few years, but not that it's a competition. I was going to let you have it. You've had it, but now you've decided to announce that it's yours. So obviously I need to question that.
Okay. All right, nerd. So basically, I think you should be able to. I think you should be able to take one. I know it'd be pretty dangerous if someone's
Can you
serving.
hang on? Rather than just leaving it as like an ambiguous sentence like that, can you please explain to people what exactly you mean by that?
So taking a fault. So obviously, it's a fault if it goes in the short in the hazard lines, and it's a fault if it goes like as a pass round back on the penthouse.
So are you saying that if you can see that the ball is going to be a fault, you're allowed to volley it, or you're allowed to physically let the ball bounce and be a fault, but then elect to play it?
Bounce as well. Bounce.
So that's like rackets, right?
Yeah. Obviously, you can volley it anyway, but like I think if it hits the penthouse, you should be allowed to play the ball.
Yeah, exactly. If the ball is in on the penthouse,
yeah,
because in theory the service box is less relevant, because if people are volleying the serve, the ball never gets a chance to land in the box.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you said there, the moment the ball lands on the roof and lands beyond or hits beyond the line and is therefore legal,
yeah,
it should be game on.
Obviously, people serve like into second gallery, railroads, blah blah, WPK straight into the marks box. Like you obviously can't play them. That is a fault. But I feel like there's sometimes when people hit like a short serve, and you're like, oh my god, I wish I could hit that. Just because it's easier, isn't it?
Think about the amount of times when you're serving and you serve something and it's like rolling around the back penthouse and you're thinking, oh god, and then it just creeps over the line for a fault and you end up breathing a sigh of relief.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm like, oh, come on, ball, come on, go.
I genuinely wonder how that would change the dynamics of somebody serving. Because think of it this way, right? So I'll take somewhere like a Paris where you get your pass. So, and something that Chris Ronaldson always said to me, serving Cyborg, he said to me, it's better to serve a fault than a bad serve. So if you end up going for the perfect serve and it's a fault, it doesn't matter, right? Because you can back it up with a safe second serve. Imagine that ball is now potentially not a fault. So imagine you kind of go high serve at Paris and you think, okay, I'll just deliberately make sure it's too wide, if anything. Rolls around the back penthouse, hits the floor for a fault, then hits the timber wall, and pops up, and you've got like Cam or Steve or Stout or some Connor, like a left-hander.
Yeah.
You're not going to serve that anymore, are you?
I think it's good though, because I think you don't get many outright aces in real tennis, do you? So
no. So this is what I mean. Like that would change how people would serve.
It might provoke like people just to sort of that serve different stuff. It might provoke different kind of serving, because obviously you'd have to just get it in, because sometimes a fault is worse than a serve that goes in.
Yeah, I mean you'd have to get it in. Yeah, or if it wasn't going to go in, you'd have to be thinking like, right, this is not necessarily safe. Whereas at the moment, certainly like good players have got the safety net of a fault. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
But if you take that away, imagine you putting your amazing little choppy drag serve up onto the penthouse.
Mate, it's a last resort these days, but yeah, it does go in.
Imagine you doing that, and as soon as you hit it, you're like, oh, okay, that's going to be quite short. And you see Tim Chisholm flying up the court to like worse than second.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't serve it again, would you?
To slam this thing on the volley, which you can do anyway, or let it hit the floor and then you just eat a main wall force. You're going to think twice about that drag, aren't you?
Yeah, you're going to serve a bubble next.
Because you're going to be thinking, right, I either need to make sure this thing's deeper, or I just don't hit it at all.
It would be quite fun, to be fair. I'd like to see it.
I'd be interested. I'll tell you what. Let's do that next time we play some practice sets. We'll implement that rule and see what it does.
That would actually be so joke. Yeah, I'd find it funny. Like if a high serve's going around the side and you can just hit a backhand cut shot, that'd be quite nice.
Exactly.
Obviously, if you take it, it's obvious if you've taken it and then you net it, you lose the points, so it could work.
Yeah. So how does it work in? Because what you
rackets.
could have is it could bounce and then I could tap it in the net and you could be like, well, that's my point, right?
No,
so
no,
how
no,
does it work?
not at all, not at all. It's obviously like
so you have to call it, or
it's fairly obvious if you've taken it. Like, let's say if someone takes a swing, they'll be like taken, like, and then the point, if they miss. But obviously, if someone like decides to tap it, it's obvious. You know when someone's played it or not. Do you know what I mean? You just know.
Yeah. So as in, there's no official system. It's just
Yeah.
basically done on like honour, as it were.
Yeah, it's like snooker. You know, let's say if you're hitting the yellow, but it's obviously, let's say if you hit red and then you choose a colour, it's obvious you're going for the black. But obviously,
mate, that is an absolutely superb analogy from you. Well done.
well, yeah, it is, isn't it? Like, you're not going to get
No, it is very good.
You're not going to get Ronnie O'Sullivan being like, no, he's gone for the green. It's like, no, mate, he's lined up the yellow.
Yeah, the green's at the other end of the table. You might.
Yeah, that's why Ronnie doesn't do it. But yeah, it wasn't a bad one. But yeah, that it would be cool, and it'd be fairly obvious if someone's taken it and netted it. And likewise, if you take it and hit it on the roof, like, you can't just be like, oh no, because you've taken it, mate. That ball's in play.
But it's like the person who's returning serve sees like this really good serve. This serve looks like it's going to be really good coming through the air, and they're, oh, I don't like the look of that. And they're like, time, please, time. Sorry, I wasn't quite watching.
Yeah, fuck me. I wasn't
like
ready, mate.
stick it on the roof and just be like, hang on, no. It's like, no, it's not a free hit, mate. Like if you're playing it, then it's game on.
Yeah, I know. It'd be really good though. You'd have to switch on so much when it came to a serve, because like you couldn't just hit a fault and then pick up another ball. Like, someone could take it.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good one. Just going to a couple of like fun things, which I think would be quite a lot. Well, one thing again, which is quite functional. I think all clubs in the UK, listen up. You need to invest your money into a grill that is a net, that has a slide, that has the grill that is on like runners, that slides like in front of the net. I'm thinking Boston Tennis and Racket Club here, because every country in the world now is marking from the dead on. Yes, English real tennis members, Mr. and Mrs. Traditionalists, like, this is happening. We are behind the times, as we are with streaming and everything else. So everybody's gripe to me when I mark from the dead on at Leamington is, oh, but you can't see the hazard in, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's like, okay, we'll get a hazard marker in for the club championships or whatever, but we've got nowhere to put them. That's like a really optimum position.
Well, so, up high at Leamington.
Yeah, but it's not optimum. It's not the best place.
No.
Because you're looking like right down at the floor, so it's a bit more difficult to gauge the like where the ball has bounced, because you're looking literally like at the opposite plane of the ball moving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's more difficult. Boston's absolutely perfect. They've got their grill board. As soon as they get like the quarterfinals onwards and they get the grill marker in, they just slide it on the runners out the way. There's a net there. You sit in the net, and you can see everything from there. And then you just slide it back in, and you got your nice, pretty grill again. Can't cost much money. One of your members must be a tradesman or a chippy or something.
A tradesman? A tradesman?
Well, I mean, every club should be able to get one in. Buy a little bit. Every club's going to have a bit of like netting, either for the galleries or from like an old net or something. Chop up a section, get yourself a grill net, get a grill on some runners, and then you're preparing for the future. We can all sit there and moan about the traditions of the past, but they're gone. We're not marking from the net anymore. So get your grill marking appropriate.
Just when you said tradesman there, I'm just imagining basically on Talk Sport this advert coming up for like, get your real tennis nets here from Trade Centre UK, from Selco Builders Warehouse. But yeah, sadly that won't be happening anytime soon. Jim White on Talk Sport.
I mean, if Selco want to sponsor this podcast, I'll quite happily sing a jingle.
Mate, can you imagine? That'd be so good.
Well, there you go. If anybody wants to sponsor the podcast, get us to read out anything you like. Don't care.
Also, yeah, we'll listen to any offers. Jesus, anything at this point.
I'll tell you what would be quite fun, which is a little bit like ties in quite a little bit with your like different colour scheme.
Yes.
If money was no object and things like that, how cool would it be to have underfloor sensors?
Yeah, underfloor sensors would be sick. But would that not happen with like your feet though? Wouldn't your feet set it off?
Do you know what? I've never thought about that. You're absolutely right.
Because obviously, like, yeah, well, anyway, whatever. It would be cool though, right? If there was just like a magnet on the ball. And
Well, okay, if you take it one step further, yeah, you chip the ball somehow, or you take it one step further and you have somebody in a production office that basically presses a button to activate it or something. Obviously, what I'm getting at here is there's never any quibbling on the chase ever again.
yeah, that's
the
true.
ball bounces, the floor lights up, and that's it. Science and technology wins again.
It would have to be. It would be hard to do because obviously the ball can hit many surfaces, and so let's
It
say
would be very difficult to do.
because like the second bounce, like fuck.
Well, imagine someone's like fizzed in like a cut volley at Newport as well, and it doesn't even look like it's left the ground at all. You're like, how on earth?
Maybe
Someone rolls a nick or something. You're like, okay.
Maybe though. I mean, if it, let's say, registered every time it hit a surface, you could have all of those touches. You know, let's say when a footballer's wearing one of those like vests and all their movements are tracked. Let's say if the ball every single time it touched a surface, it would register, and obviously you'd be able to identify where it's hit. But,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, but that's hard to do. Fact.
I mean, obviously, we're not talking about a cheap project here, so it's
No.
not.
It'd be cool to have a way of like never getting a chase wrong. I agree.
Well, I remember years ago when they did the IRTPA Championships, which was the British Pro Singles, when it was at the Oratory, it was on Sky Sports.
In 06?
I mean, you're more of a stato than me on that. So
yeah, wasn't that where like people were wearing black tops and stuff?
No, that was Hollyport.
Okay. I'm actually going to prove you wrong, by the way, because I know for a fact there's a picture of Chris Bray wearing black.
Blue one, like yeah, the girl was wearing like no. Okay, so there was a British Pro Singles. It was the Oratory Sky. I think they did it a couple of times. Anyway, they had with the production team, so they had the like camera set up where the upper gallery is now, I think.
Yeah.
And you had the commentators obviously having to explain what real tennis is, which is always a shame. It's like any media coverage real tennis gets. The first half an hour is explaining what it is.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Even like Rob's latest article in was it The Guardian?
Yeah, and
the
Times.
First half of it is like telling everybody what real tennis is. They had like this graphic which basically they superimposed onto the floor. So it said like, oh, the commentator was like, right, the chase is 4. Steve at the other end's got to beat chase 4, and this graphic would come up that would shade the court in from 4 to the back wall.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it would say like, right, Steve's got to get the ball into like the darker area of the court, basically.
Did the commentator also say, yeah, if it's chase 4, Steve's probably going to hit the dead on?
Yeah, just ignore the shaded part on the floor.
Steve's forcing.
Just see if the ball goes past the guy at the service end and then doesn't bounce back into the court, then it's in the dead on.
Yeah. Most people don't do that. But yeah, that's actually quite cool. That's a cool graphic.
That would be pretty cool. I mean, you could do the same thing with like
streaming, I think.
Yeah, obviously it gets a bit expensive and stuff. I mean, you could effectively do the same thing with like serves on the Penthouse, but I don't think that's not as important, because if you call a fault on somebody, you're stopping the point before it's active.
Yeah.
So it's far less relevant. Whereas but then it's the same thing with it's the same thing with like football, isn't it? Like what's more fun, having the potential human error of the referee and having stuff that's like opinion based.
Yeah.
Like I think this is a free kick and another referee doesn't. Same thing with markers. I think that ball's down. This person doesn't. Or do you just go full technology and say, right, nothing can ever be wrong?
I don't think stuff can be wrong. I just think I prefer VAR.
Just get it right.
Yeah, just get it right. Rules are rules. Because
So I think what they're doing like with that is, their bone of contention is that like people are being offside by their toe or whatever now. So it's like, okay, that's absolutely fine.
But that is offside.
Well, yeah, don't get VAR out. Just adapt your rule to make it more commonsensical.
It's got to be like an umpire's call thing. Like, let's say it's got to be the referee makes the decision.
If someone's arm is offside, I think they've changed this recently, but like if someone's arm is offside or whatever, then it's offside, isn't it? Whereas it should be like, well, they can't score with their arm, so it doesn't That should be completely irrelevant.
Yeah, so true. It's been good though. It has been good. I think VAR in a way.
I
People
think there's too
complain.
many things that are like being stopped. Like, can you remember when they first brought it in for the World Cup, and there were about 3 penalties in every single match?
I like that though. England literally wouldn't have won without penalties. I think we scored about 4 in the tournament. I don't even know. No, Kane got one. Yeah.
Probably half of Harry Kane's golden boot, wasn't it?
No, I think he got 3 because he got 2 against Panama, 1 against Colombia. So yeah, it was half his golden boot. 'Cause he got 6 goals. Exactly. Yeah, all VAR.
Yeah. Well, that could be quite fun to do with the court as well.
I agree.
What about Rob Fay's glass dismantleable court?
Yeah, it'd be good. That'd be a great innovation. I mean, it's in 2 national newspapers, so clearly he's got some funding for it, which is great to see.
You thought he was taking the piss, didn't you?
What?
I mean, we'll never know.
We'll never know. But all I'd say is the fact that it was published on April the 3rd, and the article probably took place on April the 1st.
Oh, I see. You're a cynic.
Yeah, maybe I am. Put it this way.
I'll tell you what. Absolute, what a set of gonads that is to have some airtime in a national newspaper and just, if he has, just take the piss out of him.
Mate, we're going Turkey away next summer. Yeah, we're taking the court to Greece.
That would be so funny.
Oh my god.
If he's just gone, do you know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna mock you there.
He has basically, yeah.
That would have been brilliant.
Fucking hell, this is ridiculous. But yeah, overall, I think if anyone does have any rules they'd like to change, I think we've actually been quite sensible there, and this is a sensible podcast, and we've come up with some potential rule change which could happen. Do you know what I mean? That we could do that.
What about anything to do with galleries?
Brick them up. I don't know.
Well, see, I mean, could you be in a world of trouble?
Yeah, I would be.
I'm just thinking. The reason. Sorry, I'm just to elongate this a little bit more, because I'm just thinking, everybody moans about, all anybody does these days is hit galleries, and it's like, yes, because the game has changed and everybody now is so fast and fit and good at retrieving that, when we kind of say to people, oh, you always want to be at the service end, we're not joking. You want to get down to the service end. It's just very, very difficult to do that at the top level now, because everyone's so good at retrieving, or just even getting a racket on stuff. So galleries are a mechanism to get down there. I'm just brainstorming here. This could be ridiculous. Imagine you used galleries like your bouncers in an over. You just be like, right, you've got your one.
Yeah.
You've got your one for the game. You can't hit anymore.
What happens if you ping a second gallery by accident, though? Because let's be honest, I would do that.
Lose the point.
No, come off it. No.
Well, what else?
It's ridiculous. You can't lose a point for hitting a gallery. It's an accident. I never mean it anyway.
Hang on. Now, I'm gonna call you out on that. The amount of people that, if you played that sentence to people and said, oh, it's an accident, they'd all go, well, it's not an accident for me. Don't hit it over there. Have more ball control. Be more Nick Wood.
Mate, you can't lose the point for hitting a gallery.
Okay, so what do you do then? Do you just kind of go oh, okay, that's just neutral. We'll just disregard that and start the rally again?
It's chase off, yeah.
But then you get people in all kinds of trouble just flicking it into the galleries to get chased off. It would be even more boring. It would be worse. Can I just clarify? I don't wholly believe what I've suggested is a good thing. I just brainstormed it, but on the basis that you're going to trash it.
No, I'm not trashing it. I just think there's a better way of doing it. Maybe it's right. Okay, maybe you're allowed the gallery the first time, and then the second time you change ends, it's automatically chase the line. Automatically, you can't get any better than chase the line the second time if you hit another gallery.
It's a good argument.
I think that would be fairer, because that would be fair. I've got a gallery, but
so for the people that for the gallery haters, Julian Snow. Oh, you can't out-rally me, so you're just going to stick the ball in the gallery or whatever. It's boring. Fine. You can rant about it. Let's hear a solution.
I agree. There's not an easy solution for that. So
for the people that don't like the top guys using the galleries, give us a solution.
I think people who don't like people using the galleries are narrow-minded and don't actually understand what it's like to get the ball back. I will say that.
Well, it's a tactical game, isn't it?
The fact
They
of
are
the fact of matter,
there. They're there to be used.
the fact of the matter is, I'd say 85-90% of the time the ball isn't going there after the third shot of the rally. It's going there after like a long rally, and people are getting out of the point because if they physically stay in the point any longer, they'll just be too tired and they'll lose.
Well, I don't know about too tired. It's just
I will be.
Think of the way the court's laid up.
Yeah,
laid out. It's advantageous for one person. So if the guy at the hazard end is, the longer that rally goes on, the more they're likely to lose it. So, I would just be interested to hear what the solutions would be from people rather than just saying, "Oh, we don't like it." Okay, well, offer us a solution. What do you think should happen?
I agree. There's nothing.
Could be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Right. Well, that was actually quite an interesting discussion. To be fair, I enjoyed that. We're going to move on to the cyborg again, which is just it's got so many attributes. I think so. Oh, who was it? There was some signature. Someone messaged me about.
Mate, I've got such a long list of people.
Oh yeah, well, we're going to do flair this week.
Yeah, I've got such a long list of people. I've got 7 people on my list.
But anyway, before we mentioned that, obviously we did signature shots the other day. We didn't mention AJ Kemp's inside out, which I think is just like an ultimate. He hits the ball with so much side.
I actually had a couple of comments on the video as well. We've got.
Oh really? Shit.
Yeah, had a couple of comments. We've got Steve Agona turning inside. I mean, Steve's going to love it. Yet another mention of Steve.
Fucking hell.
Steve Agona's signature has to be turning inside out on railroads to hit main wall force.
Yeah.
Yes, you're also good. My personal favourite signature Steve Agona shot is when he turns inside a railroad and he hasn't got enough room and he basically just boasts it into his own foot. Steve will enjoy that one. Ben Ronaldson classic is to step into forehand too early, then spin round to hit a blind backhand.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah, it is a signature shot. It's not very good, but it's a signature shot. Anyway, well, let's not badger on about.
Well, this week is going to be is flair. So like, in your cyborg, you'd want someone with some flair, wouldn't you? And who has the best flair ever?
Do you want me to just reel them off?
Please, mate, go.
I will just read out these 7 names and then we can discuss in finer detail.
Go on. I'm sure I'll agree.
Spike Wilcox, James Stout, Steve Agona, Rob Fay, Paul Tabley, Graham Highland, Gene Scott.
Paul Tabley, yeah, fucking hell.
Exactly.
Yeah, I forgot about him. I mean,
if there was ever a person that just said guilty, get a new rule book.
And that's
Crufts.
I mean, I've met him twice, and the first time, I think both of you were hitting a few main walls, and he was like, when I used to play, I just used to hit main walls. Any position in the court, I just hit a main wall. I was like, all right, mate, get a beer. But yeah.
He didn't need a second invitation on that one.
No. Apparently he loved his flair, but fair.
I'm thinking like, if I wouldn't say you're looking at like unconventional players because there's conventional. So Spike Wilcox would take a railroad and hit like a railroad volley back off the penthouse, down the line and into the gallery. Sometimes I don't know if I've explained that very well, but
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
That's massive flair.
Yeah, I agree.
Massive flair. James Stout is more of a retrieving flair because he's not really an aggressive kind of player.
I heard one shot off Stout, so he was playing Fay in the Open, and apparently the ball was like spinning on the second gallery ledge or something, and he's run up to it, and the ball's literally just like spinning on the ledge, and he's hit it off the ledge, like to the base of the timber, and it was like, what? Apparently, that's the only time I've ever heard of someone literally hit it off a ledge. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's very cool. Steve Agona, obvious flair.
Yeah.
Made a British Open semi when he was 18 or whatever, and probably didn't even know what a chase was at that point.
Flair on the beers.
Rob Fay is in there because Rob
has loads of flair.
Huh?
Rob has loads of flair, in my opinion. Loads.
Mate, the amount of times you see him go out and play and he's like, I just can't be bothered today. I'm just going to hit every single ball into the dead on. and he just does it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, like even his point to win the 2018 World Championship, people don't mention how good that shot is. That is an unbelievable ball. Like Cam's Cam's hit a post and he's hit like a backhand volley into me and Gary. Like people will mention his dead-ons, his target hitting, but like that winning shot is like absolute champagne. Like you could literally,
Champagne.
like mate,
Yeah.
if I ever did that, like I'd just film it and put it on every social media. I'd be like, that's a sick shot, and he did it to win match point. It's like, wow.
I wonder if he did that, hit that ball, and his initial thought was, well, that's going in the promo for 2020.
Or maybe he thought he took the shot on and was like, oh, what am I thinking here? Like, why am I taking this on?
Well, he was defending a chase, so he could
I
have
know,
gone in
yeah.
any of them.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It was still just like what, but yeah, it's a mega shot.
Yeah, massive flair. Who else have we got here? Where's my list gone?
Apparently, Charlie Crossley was quite flair.
Charlie Crossley, quite mint. Yeah, very good hands.
I've heard a story about him at like the under-24s or something. He was playing rod, and he's like hit himself in the face or something like that with his racket. Is this true?
I mean,
It's a rod story. It's a rod story. So
well, I mean, also you have to realise that even though I'm one of the vets on the tour at the moment, that they're still in the era like
they're older.
before me.
Yeah, they're older. Yeah, they're like 40. Fair enough. It's a rod story as well. Who else?
Well, my source from the past threw at me Graham Highland and Gene Scott.
Gene Scott. God, he's getting mentioned all the time.
Well, I asked them, and I said I've got Wilcox, Tabley, Begona, Stout, and he said I would add Graham Highland and Gene Scott. And I said, not somebody who's ignoring the rule book, but play with lots of inventiveness and flair. He said definitely Highland and Tabley would be my top two.
I like that. That's cool. Graham Highland, yeah, big innovator of the game. I'm sure he had a bit of flair.
So what we've got to do is obviously decide, is this person's flair, does this person's flair like contribute to them being a good player, or are we just going for the flairiest? Yes, that's a word.
Flair. The flairiest,
time.
like someone who literally is like pure flair. Like you've got some footballers who like Adel Tarabt had flair, but he wasn't that good.
Adel Tarabt. Who's the other guy that? Who's the other guy that went over to Ravel Morrison?
Yeah, Ravel Morrison. Hatem Ben Arfa.
Ben Arfa just never seemed to cut it because no one could be bothered with their discipline.
Yeah, apparently Tarabt just wasn't fit enough for the Premier League. Like he did well in the Championship, but he just wasn't fit enough. So like obviously he could do all this stuff, but then once he got to a higher level, apparently fitness is just that much more important. So yeah, apparently.
Same in real tennis.
Yeah, well, yeah, Paul Tabley will say that. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, God, I just wish I could have seen Spike play more. He was just, I hit with him a few times and like, oh.
It seems like he
so good.
It seems like he had a lot of flair though, like a lot, and he comes into conversation a lot when we talk about certain shots, just anecdotally as well. And you've got to think that people would have been like, "Wow, this guy,"
because he was just all out on stuff. Like he was so kind of like quick and like, he'd scuttled around the court really quickly, and he was just like, if he got there, he wasn't like, okay, I'm just gonna prod that ball cross court or whatever and like keep myself neutral. He was just like, no, I'm carving this thing floor sideball. Just every ball that he could attack, he was all out on it. And that doesn't mean he was like, he used to smack it hard.
Did he used to hit a lot in the net?
Here you go. He was a shot maker. There you go.
That's a good trait to have. Tell you what, that's one thing I'll never be known as.
He was a shot maker. He was not reactive. I mean, obviously everybody who gets to +6 or whatever he got to is very good, like defensively and reactively. But he was looking to impose himself on stuff.
That's a good trait to have, to be fair.
Very much so.
I think Stout's pretty flair, to be honest. I think Stout genuinely has flair.
I completely agree.
When I've watched him play, like some of his shots are just like, wow, that's sick. That is sick. It's annoying actually that there aren't more. You know, when people advertise matches in the British Open, it should be like, mate, this guy is so flair, you want to watch him.
In theory, any match in the British Open you should want to watch because there's some good, particularly like day one Sunday. Well, not anymore because there's no one good coming.
Day one Sunday is like there's probably about 2 matches a day which are only good.
Yeah, but mate, back in the day, Christ, like the standard of the average real tennis player has just got so. It's just getting worse and worse.
Mate, imagine watching Kevin Sheldon day one.
That's a different topic, obviously. But back in the day, day one was absolutely superb.
Yeah.
Now it's just garbage. But yeah, sorry, that's a different topic. Back to flair.
I've watched a fair bit of Stout 2015, 2016 at Reelers, and he's flair. big
Yeah,
time.
I mean, I'm gonna go.
And I don't even think we've seen what he's capable of fully. I reckon if you told Stout like go all out here, Flair, I reckon he could do even more. I think he's got the capacity to be more Flair.
Dangle a nice big check in front of him.
Yeah, well, literally, like I just think he sees the game a bit differently, perhaps. Just I know obviously he's not going to beat Camden. He's not going to be world champion. And people are like, oh, what if he trained? But that probably wouldn't ever have happened. Like it would have taken a
you know
lot.
what?
But
With people like that who are a bit of an enigma.
they're almost too Flair to be world champions. You know what I mean?
Well, not necessarily world champion, but if you tried to coach them to just be really, really textbook, they would probably get worse.
So true. Exactly. It's so true. Like,
do you know what I mean? Like part of their thing is the kind of like not the chaos. That's not a good word, but
no.
You know, part of it is that whole unpredictability and stuff like that. So I think, and it's like you hear it with like footballers and stuff, don't you? Something we used to always complain about in England is that you'd have players that would get the ball and be able to beat people.
Yeah.
And then it just got coached out of them, and then they just ended up like being an average football player. Whereas, you know, imagine taking like Cristiano Ronaldo, when he was a kid,
yeah,
and basically being like, right, we want you to take people on a lot less and pass the ball a lot more.
I think he actually got better when he did like cut a bit of flair out of his game.
But yeah, as he like matured.
Yeah.
But you know, do you know what I mean? Imagine just saying like, no, we don't want you to do all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
We want you to just be a lot more like boring and textbook.
Yeah, I feel like Flair is coached out of a lot of people, but again, you've got to have like talent to back up that Flair. A lot of people just can't hack it.
Exactly. So we've got Graham Highland and Gene Scott from the eras gone by, and what I'm going to do is sort of particularly Graham Highland, who is very inventive and he's always thinking, a bit bonkers but in a lovely way. I'm going to say that because the game is more fast-paced and a bit more chaotic now.
Yeah, we've got to rule them out. I'm not having that.
I'm going to say that, yeah.
I'm not having that. There's definitely more Flair people now. I just think like everything about it. But you see, I'm sorry, Graham.
But do you know what's really, really amazing is that there's very little kind of like fact and stat to back up an argument when it comes to Flair.
That's why I think it's
just personal. But like when you can turn around and talk about forehands and stuff, and serving, and there's stats to back it up. Whereas Flair, it is literally just our choice.
That's
and
why
I'm gonna throw in there. If we're just looking for the person who played with the most amount of flair, then it's got to be Paul Tabley.
Yeah, apparently so. Like genuinely, a very talented player. I think Steve told me that he was probably one of those players who just never really fulfilled his potential. Just never really wanted
so someone like a Steve and a Rob have tons of flair, but they also have the sensibility. They have the other stuff, and the flair is part of their game.
Yeah, I agree.
Which makes them a well-rounded player. Tabley was just pure flair.
Yeah, it's
pure flair.
It's one of those things. I agree.
Spike again would be the same as like Rob and Steve. Had a lot of flair, but also like just kind of combined that into his game.
Yeah, I reckon Paul Tabley was more flair than Spike. I reckon, just personality-wise as well. I reckon Tabley was more flair than Spike, just in terms of personality. Surely, you've got to think. You got to think like he's the sort of bloke who would have taken those shots on. Yeah.
He obviously would have either, I don't know, because it wasn't in his head, but he would have either just not cared if they didn't go in, or just backed himself to make it. Either way, good traits.
Mate, yeah, very much so. And I think, I would love there to be a few more like players who, let's say, to inspire younger people. Be like, you know what, mate, watch him. Like he's so flair. Because people will always say like, oh, Steve, Rob, blah blah. It's a shame that maybe there aren't like more players who you'd associate with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, again, depends on what kind of player you want to be, doesn't it? If you want to just be pure flair, just go and watch footage of like James Stout.
Yeah, genuinely.
If you want to be pure textbook,
Watch Ben Taylor Matthews.
And no flair, then go and watch some of my games.
It's true because it's a great topic and everyone talks about flair, but most flair ever.
Right.
Let's come to a decision.
You talk about flair.
What I talk? Yeah, I know. I
Talk
think
about flair a lot.
I know because I think it's something I just when you want something because you can't have it. Like I will never be flair. It's like I will never be
You love it.
flair.
But your passion for flair almost gives people the impression that you've got it.
Yeah, it's the same with like my rig. It's the same with like it's the
You
same
don't
with
give
like my actual
capacity.
ability. People actually probably think I'm better than I am, just because how I talk.
I don't know, mate. I've got a handicap list in front of me.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Top player under 26 in the world, 25 in the world.
Achieved by no flair, but yeah, I think it's such a unique thing, and some people will not have it. Some people will not have it, which is why it's a great topic. Right, let's make some decisions.
Right, I'm going to throw into the mix.
Go on.
If we're looking at pure flair, are we looking at pure flair?
Yeah, pure.
All right.
Not successful flair, just any.
Right, so we are looking for, here's that word again, the flairiest player.
Yeah.
Right, in that case, it's James Stout or Paul Tabley, and I'll let you come up with the answer, and I know who you're going to go for.
Paul Tabley.
Wow, thought you would go for Stout.
No chance. Paul Tabley would have definitely been more flair than Stout. I think with a left-hander, you're restricted in what flair you can produce because you
can produce some pretty good flair from the grill corner.
I agree, but I think it looks better if you're right-handed flair. I think it just looks better. Whereas left-handed, it's always going to involve that main wall.
Well, left-handers just slap it around and look horrible anyway, don't they?
Exactly, which I just feel like, and I feel like Paul Tabley would have taken on more ridiculous shots than Stout does. But Stout is obviously mega. Just some of his shots are like wow.
Oh, completely. Mate, I remember seeing Bryn and Stout in the US Open final that fateful year in New York, and Bryn hit a timbre, like a really low timbre, one of Bryn's signatures, like a drive base of the timbre, and Stout like lunged in, and the ball ended up getting a little bit further behind, or he lunged in and got a little bit too far up the court or something, and the ball ended up like going through his leg. He played it, he like half volleyed it through his legs or something.
Really?
But as in like at full lunge, like just got his positioning slightly wrong, and just styled it out. And honestly, 95% of the people watching that match would not have even noticed that he did it because it all happened so quick. It just looked like he just hit like a half volley off the timbre, but he actually hit a half volley like through his legs.
Really? So hasn't he got like ahead of the ball?
Yeah, he just lunged in a bit too far, so he got like a bit too far up the court. Therefore, when the ball was coming off the timbre, it wasn't coming towards his front leg. It was going like between his legs because he'd got his front leg like half a yard too far up the court.
Jesus.
So he just played some half volley forehand through his legs.
Wow.
But
I can believe
he was in full lunge mode, so you couldn't really. It didn't look. People would have gone, "That looks a bit weird. What happened there?" Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't an obvious. It wasn't like a Nick Kyrgios tweener where he sticks one leg up in the air. Like we can all do that. Christ.
Yeah, that is a bit shit. I don't.
You stick one leg right up in the air and hit it through your legs with the biggest racket of all time. Well done, mate. We can all do that.
Yeah, we actually can. But yeah, I think Paul Tabley is going to be the flair cyborg.
The flair man.
Yeah, I think so. Even though I
So
never
Paul
saw
Tabley
him, just
is Ric
anecdotally. Ric Flair, that's a bit 90s or 2000s.
Rolling back the years again, showing my age.
Don't worry.
Don't care.
But yeah, that is it. Paul Tabley is the flair cyborg. We're gonna have to keep going with these sort of like intangible things for the cyborg. I don't know what next. What we'll do next.
Well, I'd like, and again, we'd like engagement. We'd like ideas.
Maybe something off court. Who knows? Please suggest something, someone. Because yeah, isolation is tough, and inspiration is welcome.
Anything that would involve like isolation, biggest loner or best chat or best
biggest loner.
Best drinker.
That could be quite fun. That could be getting some new names into conversation. But yeah, I'd like to say that all those names we mentioned in the Flair Cyborg, you wouldn't be too fussed if you had them as your cyborg for Flair.
Well, as always, if your name's in the hat.
Yeah, if your name's in the hat, you're pretty jet.
You're pretty jet. There you go.
But no, been a good podcast today. Actually, been quite sensible chat. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it today.
Good. It's been good fun.
I was so tired. I went to bed at 1 o'clock. I was recording this in the morning. But it's gone well. My brain was engaged.
What are your plans for the rest of the day?
Gonna do some work, mate, and then do some bicep curls in the evening. Maybe go for a walk.
Lovely.
One of those. Got to keep the rig.
This famous rig.
Oh,
well, I'm literally going to go down into the garden and smash out a workout now. I'm 99% I've got 99% of the program sorted. I just need one exercise. There you go. Give me an exercise. One exercise.
Bicep curls. I'm joking. I'm joking. Right, body weight.
Yeah.
Why don't you do? What have you got? Weights, dumbbells, kettlebell?
I've got one 20-kilogram kettlebell.
Are you doing that that lift up and then raise above your head?
What, all the way from the floor?
Yeah, like snatches. Is that snatch?
It is a snatch. Yeah, I've got snatches in my workout already.
Okay, fair enough. Well, in that case, I'm struggling, but maybe just
something.
Yeah, maybe just some press ups. I don't know. Fuck it.
Why not?
Just to burn out. Do them at the end when you've got nothing left.
Exactly. But we've got quite a lot of burpees in there already, so that'll be good.
Oh, that's good. That is good. Building up the workouts. But we'll see you again next week. We reckon episode 11. Thank you very much.